The hospital ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Its white hull reflected the distant starlight, and green stripes marked it as a medical vessel. The name painted on its side read UHMS Nightingale in letters big enough to see from miles away. Inside, doctors and nurses walked through clean white hallways, checking on patients from a dozen different alien species. Doctor stood in the main medical bay, looking at the status boards. He was 40 years old, with gray hair starting to show at his temples. His hands were steady as he reviewed patient charts on a tablet. Around him, medical staff moved between beds where injured aliens rested and healed. "How is the patient in bed 12?" asked. Nurse looked up from her station. She was younger than maybe 30, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Stable. The lung repair is holding well. He should be ready to transfer to his people in 3 days." Nodded. 3 years. They had been doing this for 3 years now. The Nightingale traveled through neutral space, picking up wounded soldiers, injured civilians, even hurt pirates. It did not matter what side they fought for. It did not matter what species they were. The Nightingale treated everyone. The galaxy called humans. Earth was a horrible planet by galactic standards. Higher gravity than most worlds, dangerous weather, deadly animals and plants. The aliens said that only the strongest, meanest creatures could evolve there. They looked at humans and saw predators who could heal from terrible injuries, who could keep fighting with broken bones, who never knew when to quit. But the Nightingale showed them something different. For 3 years, humans had healed instead of hurt. They had saved lives instead of taking them. "Doctor," a voice came over the intercom. "Captain wants to see you on the bridge." Handed his tablet to and walked toward the elevators. The ship was huge, almost a mile long. It had 12 medical bays, 6 operating rooms, and enough supplies to treat thousands of patients. But it only had 30 security guards and 3 small defense guns. Captain Sung-ho always said their protection was their purpose. No one would attack a hospital ship. The bridge was smaller than the medical bays. Captain Sung-ho sat in the center chair, looking at the screens that showed the space around them. He was older than, with deep lines around his eyes from years of command. "We received a distress call," Sung-ho said. "A merchant ship. They say they have wounded and their medical bay is damaged." "How far?" asked. 6 hours at our best speed." Saw Lieutenant Minyu standing near the weapons console. Minyu was the head of security, a former soldier who always looked worried. He was looking at the distress signal location on the star map. "I don't like it," Minyu said. "That area has had pirate activity. We should call for an escort." "An escort would take 2 days to reach us," Sung-ho replied. "Those people might not have 2 days." "We have 30 guards and 3 pop guns," Minyu said, using his nickname for their small defense weapons. "If pirates wanted to take this ship, they could do it easily." Understood Minyu's worry, but he also understood the mission. "How many wounded do they report?" he asked. 15. Explosive decompression in their cargo bay. "Thought about 15 people dying because they were too scared to help. We have to go," he said. Sung-ho nodded. "Set course. Maximum speed. Minyu, put your people on alert, but this is a rescue mission. We are a hospital ship. We save lives." Minyu did not look happy, but he followed orders. He was a good soldier that way. Went back to the medical bay to prepare. Was already organizing the staff. She had been a military nurse before joining the Nightingale. She knew how to handle emergencies. 15 incoming patients, announced. Decompression injuries. Prepare trauma bay 2 and get the pressure chambers ready. The medical staff moved quickly. Dr. Jinnah, the youngest doctor on the ship, started preparing medications. She was only 26 but already one of their best surgeons. Nurse checked the equipment in the trauma bay. Others prepared beds and gathered supplies. As the Nightingale moved through space toward the distress signal, felt the familiar focus of a doctor preparing for difficult work. This was what they did. This was who they were. The galaxy might see humans as dangerous, but here they were healers. ETA 4 hours, the intercom announced. Looked around the medical bay. Everything was ready. They had treated before. The species was similar to Earth reptiles with scales and cold blood. Their biology was well understood. This should be a routine rescue. Came to stand beside him. "You look worried," she said quietly. "Minyu has a point. We are vulnerable out here. We have been vulnerable for 3 years. It has been fine." "Yes," agreed, but something felt different this time. Maybe it was just nerves, maybe it was nothing. The hours passed slowly. The crew prepared. The ship moved through the darkness between stars, following the distress beacon. On the bridge, Captain Sung-ho watched the screens. In security, Lieutenant Minyu checked weapons that everyone hoped they would never need. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses waited to save lives. The Nightingale had treated over 10,000 patients in 3 years. Soldiers from both sides of the border conflicts. Civilians caught in the fighting. Even criminals and pirates, because a hospital ship did not judge. It only healed. 1 hour to contact, the intercom said. Took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, they would do their job. They were human, yes, from a terrible planet. But they had chosen to use their strength for something good. They had chosen mercy. The ship slowed as it approached the coordinates. On the screens, they could see a vessel floating in space, lights flickering, hull damaged. It looked exactly like a merchant ship in distress. "This is UHMS Nightingale to merchant vessel," Captain Sung-ho broadcast. "We are approaching to render medical assistance. Prepare to receive our docking tube." The merchant ship responded, "Thank you, Nightingale. We have wounded. Please hurry." Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed right. The Nightingale extended its docking tube toward the damaged ship. Medical teams stood ready. In 3 years, they had done this hundreds of times. No one knew that everything was about to change. No one knew that in a few minutes, the galaxy would remember why you should never anger even one who has chosen to heal instead of hurt. The docking tube connected with a soft thump. The seals locked into place. And then the universe taught the galaxy a terrible lesson about the price of betrayal. The explosion came without warning. One moment was walking toward the docking airlock with his medical team. The next moment the world turned into fire and noise and pain. The blast threw him backward into a wall. His ears rang. He tasted blood. When his vision cleared, he saw horror. The airlock had exploded inward. The wall of Medical Bay 2 had a massive hole torn through it. Emergency alarms screamed. Worse than the alarms were the other screams. Human screams, patient screams. "Everyone down," Lieutenant Minyu's voice came over the speakers. "We are under attack. This is not a drill." Tried to stand. His left arm would not work right. Broken, probably. He used his right hand to push himself up. Around him, the medical bay was chaos. Beds had been thrown across the room. Equipment sparked and smoked. Bodies lay still on the floor. He saw Nurse pinned under a collapsed shelf. He stumbled toward her, but then he saw movement in the hole where the wall used to be. Creatures were coming through. They looked like giant insects, each 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and dark armor covering their bodies. Their faces had too many eyes and mandibles that clicked together. "Pirates the worst kind." One of them shouted in the common galactic language, "You move, you die." More explosions rocked the ship. Realized they were being boarded in multiple locations. This was not a random attack. This was planned. Appeared beside him, seemingly from nowhere. She had a cut on her forehead, bleeding down her face. "Doctor, we need to move. The patients are dead if we die too. Come on." She pulled him toward a side corridor just as pirates swept into the medical bay. Heard weapons firing. More screams. He wanted to go back to help, but's grip was iron strong. They ran through corridors filling with smoke. Emergency lights flashed red. Other crew members ran past them, some wounded, all terrified. This was wrong. This was not supposed to happen. Hospital ships were protected by every law in the galaxy. They found Captain Sung-ho in an emergency command station. Half his face was burned. He was typing frantically on a console with shaking hands. Captain said, "They destroyed the main communications," Sung-ho gasped. "I am trying to send a distress signal on backup systems." "Who are they?" "Raiders, at least a dozen ships. They used a fake distress call." He coughed, blood on his lips. "They are executing patients. Saving air," they said, "taking our supplies." Felt something cold settle in his chest. Executing patients. Helpless, injured people in hospital beds. The rage that came over him was not the hot anger of a moment. It was the cold, deep fury of a man who had dedicated his life to saving others, watching those others be murdered. "The emergency beacon?" he asked. "Sent, but it will take days for help to arrive. Maybe weeks." Sung-ho looked at them both. "I am sorry, I was wrong. Minyu was right, we should have had protection." An explosion somewhere above them made the deck shake, caught the captain as he fell, checked his pulse, still alive but fatting. "We need to get him to safety," said. "Where?" asked. "They are everywhere." She was right. Through the walls they could hear weapons fire. They were moving through the ship systematically, taking supplies, taking prisoners, killing anyone who resisted. Heard a sound that made his blood freeze. Young Dr. Jinna's voice crying out, then a voice laughing, then silence. "No," whispered. His face went very still, very cold, had served with her for 2 years and had never seen that expression before. It was the face of a soldier, not a nurse. "Help me get the captain to the secure medical storage," she said quietly. "Then I need to access the pharmacy." "Dead?" "We are humans, doctor, from Earth." Her voice was flat, empty. "These things think we are weak because we chose to heal. They think mercy makes us helpless. They are about to learn they are wrong." They carried Captain Sung-ho through maintenance corridors to a reinforced storage area. Inside were backup medical supplies, protected in case of emergency. They laid him on the floor, started treating his burns with shaking hands. Was at a terminal, her fingers flying over the controls. "What are you doing?" asked. "Sending a message to Earth Defense Force, coded channel." "What message?" She stopped typing and looked at him. In her eyes, he saw something that scared him more than the pirates. He saw what humans could be when pushed too far. "Nightingale attacked, medical staff executed, requesting immediate assistance." She typed 3 more words. "Protocols are void." Understood, the treaties, the agreements that limited human military action, the medical neutrality accord. If a hospital ship was attacked, those protocols became void for the responding forces. It meant the human military could respond with full force. No restrictions, no mercy. Now the pharmacy said, "We need combat stimulants." "Those are for soldiers, they could kill us. Or they could keep us alive long enough to fight back." She stood. "Doctor, 17 of our people are dead, maybe more by now. They are killing patients in their beds. We are humans. We can take those drugs and survive. Most species cannot. That gives us an advantage." Looked at his broken arm, at the captain bleeding on the floor. Thought about young Jinnah, who had loved helping children, now silent forever. Thought about all the patients they had saved over 3 years, and the patients dying right now while he hid. "The pharmacy is in Section 4, he said. "We will need to go through areas the control." Then we go quiet, fast, human. Pulled a piece of metal from the wall, testing its weight as a weapon. "You coming, doctor?" Picked up a heavy medical scanner with his good hand. It was not a weapon, but it was better than nothing. They moved through the ship like ghosts. They were loud, confident, not expecting resistance. They did not know that humans had evolved hunting in the darkness. They did not understand that predators knew how to be silent. They reached the pharmacy. Inside opened a locked cabinet that required her command codes. Inside were drugs that human soldiers used in combat, stimulants that heightened awareness, painkillers that let injured soldiers keep fighting, chemicals that would poison most alien species but that human bodies could process. How much? She asked. Enough to turn us into weapons, loaded syringes. We are medical staff, doctor. We know exactly how to modify our own bodies. They are about to face who understand biology. She injected herself first, watched her pupils dilate, her breathing steadied, even her posture changed, becoming more alert, more predatory. Your turn, she said, handing him a syringe. Thought about the oath he had taken. First, do no harm. But what about when harm came to those he was sworn to protect? What about when mercy was answered with murder? He pressed the syringe to his arm and pushed the plunger. The drugs hit his system like electricity. Pain faded. The broken arm still did not work, but he did not care anymore. His thinking became clearer, faster. The fear disappeared, replaced by cold purpose. How many of us are left? He asked. Unknown, but Minyu and his security team were at the reactor. They have not reached there yet. Then we find them, we organize, and we teach these things what happens when you attack human healers. Smiled, it was not a kind smile. Now you are thinking like a... Outside the pharmacy they heard voices, coming closer. Gripped his improvised weapon, beside him herself. They were doctors, they were nurses. They had spent 3 years saving lives. But they were also humans. And humans, pushed far enough, remembered how to do something else entirely. Admiral Jinwoo sat in his command chair aboard the when the message arrived. He was reading a routine patrol report, drinking coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Just another day protecting the outer colonies. Then his communication officer went pale. Sir, priority alpha message. Command encryption from the Nightingale. Every head on the bridge turned. The Nightingale was legendary in the Earth Defense Force. The hospital ship that went where others feared to go. That saved everyone, asked nothing in return. It was proof that humanity could be better than its violent history. Put it through, Jinwoo said. The message was short, text only. Jinwoo read it once, then again, then a third time, his hands beginning to shake. Get me Joint Chiefs, he said quietly. Now, and find me everything within 6 jumps that can fight. His tactical officer looked confused. Sir. Jinwoo turned to face his crew. He was 55 years old. He had fought in 4 wars. He had seen terrible things, but the cold anger in his voice made even veteran soldiers step back. The Nightingale has been attacked, medical staff executed, patients murdered. He paused. Protocols are void. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Medical Neutrality Accord, Section 9, Subsection 3. If a hospital ship was attacked, the responding human forces were released from all treaty restrictions on military action. No mercy protocols would be in effect. Sir, we only have the N2 destroyers in this sector, the tactical officer said. Then we get more. I want every human ship within range. I do not care if they are military, police, or private security. I want them armed and I want them at the Nightingale's last position. Jinwoo stood. And someone tell me who did this. Sir, we intercepted their communications. They are stripping the ship. Insect pirates who thought themselves untouchable because they operated in lawless space. They were about to learn a hard lesson about consequences. Within 2 hours, 13 human warships were converging on the Nightingale's position. 2 dreadnoughts, 4 cruisers, 7 destroyers. It was more firepower than humanity had deployed in the entire 5-year border conflict. ETA 12 hours, navigation reported. 12 hours. Jinwoo hoped some of the medical staff were still alive. He hoped they could hold on. He did not know that on the Nightingale, the surviving humans had stopped hiding. Lieutenant Minyu crept through the maintenance shaft with 15 of his security team. They had heard the explosions, heard the screams. They had not reached the reactor yet, but they controlled most of the ship. "Sir, we are outnumbered," one of his guards whispered. "Maybe 100 on board. We have 15 people in small arms." "Then we be smart," Minyu replied. "This is our ship. We know every corridor, every shaft, every system. They don't." He led them through the walls, moving silent. At each junction, he marked their path with chalk so they could navigate back. Below them, they could hear voices. Above them, the hum of the ship's systems. They found the first alone, examining a medical storage locker. Minyu dropped from the ceiling shaft behind it. His knife found the gap in its armor. The creature died without a sound. "One down," Minyu whispered. "Hundreds to go." They moved like that through the ship, patient, quiet, taking targets of opportunity, never fighting fair, never taking risks. It was not brave, it was not heroic. It was the way humans hunted when they were the weaker force. In another part of the ship and had found 5 more survivors, all medical staff, all injured, and all after gave them the combat drugs ready to fight. "We need to reach the bridge," said. "Take back ship control." "They have it surrounded," another nurse said. His name was, and his left hand was gone, replaced with a bandaged stump. "At least 20 guards." "Then we go through them," said. The drugs in his system made everything clear, simple. The pain from his broken arm was distant, unimportant. "We are humans. They are not expecting us to fight back. We use that." They found a patrol. 4 of them, laughing as they carried stolen medical equipment. Went first, moving fast. Her metal pipe crushed the first one's head before it could react. Swung his scanner into another's midsection, and the creature's exoskeleton cracked. The other 2 raised weapons, but they were too slow. Nurse, one-handed, somehow got his fingers into one's eyes. It screamed. The scream cut off when finished it. The fight lasted maybe 10 seconds. 4 dead. No human casualties. "Grab their weapons," ordered. They armed themselves with plasma rifles. The weapons were designed for 4-armed creatures, awkward for humans, but they worked. Now they had real firepower. As they moved through the ship, they found more survivors. Doctor, who had been hiding in a supply closet. Nurse, who they had seen pinned earlier, somehow free and limping but alive. Each one they found gave the combat drugs. Each one joined their group. They were starting to notice. Their patrols found dead bodies. They found empty corridors that should have had prisoners. They began to realize something was wrong. "The humans are fighting back," one reported to their leader. The war leader stood on the Nightingale's bridge, surrounded by stolen medical supplies. He laughed when he heard the report. "Impossible. They are healers, weak, soft. We have lost 17 warriors." "Then send more." "They are, yes, but they chose mercy. That makes them harmless." Clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Stupid humans. They could have been conquerors. Instead, they play at saving lives. Now they pay the price." But did not understand. Humans who chose mercy were not weak. They were strong enough to choose restraint. And when that mercy was thrown back in their faces, when those they protected were murdered, the restraint disappeared. What remained was the underneath. Nurse proved this. She had a broken spine, had seen the injury, knew she should not be able to walk, but she had injected enough painkillers to kill most beings. She had wrapped her torso in a medical brace meant for field surgery, and she was fighting. A shot her twice in the chest. She went down. The moved forward to finish her. She came up from the ground with a surgical laser and burned through its face. Then she stood up again, blood running down her front, and kept fighting. The who saw this started to understand. These were not normal beings. These were who had chosen healing but never forgotten how to hurt. Minyu's team reached the engine room and found 3 trying to access the reactor. The fight was brutal and short. The humans won because they did not care about the reactor safety protocols. One of Minyu's guards shot a plasma rifle next to a coolant line. The explosion killed two and nearly killed the human. But it worked. "We have the reactor," Minyu reported on the emergency channel. "Who else is out there?" "Medical Team 7's voice came back. "We are moving on the bridge." "We will support. Give us 10 minutes." Led his group of medical staff toward the bridge. There were 12 of them now, all wounded, all drugged, all carrying weapons they barely knew how to use, against 20 professional soldiers. "This is insane," Doctor said. "Yes," agreed. "But we are insane from a hell planet, and they killed our patients." They hit the bridge from 3 directions. Minyu's team from below, through the maintenance shafts. His group from the main corridor. His team from the emergency access on the port side. They were ready. They had heavy weapons. They had armor. They had training. But humans had rage. The fight turned the bridge into a slaughter. Plasma fire burned through walls. Bodies fell on both sides. Saw Nurse go down with his chest opened. Saw one of Minyu's guards die protecting another. But they did not stop. Could not stop. The drugs in their system and the fury in their hearts pushed them forward. Reached, the war leader was huge, twice her size, armed with a heavy blade. He swung at her. She ducked under it too fast. She had a surgical laser in her hand, the same tool she used to heal. She used it to burn through his leg joint. He fell. She stood over him. "You murdered doctors," she said in perfect language. "You killed patients in their beds. You thought mercy made us weak." She raised the laser to his face. Behind her, the battle was ending. The on the bridge were dead or dying. "We showed you mercy for 3 years," said. "You just taught us to stop." The laser activated. Died slowly, understanding finally that he had made a terrible mistake. On the bridge, the surviving humans stood among the dead. 22 of them left, all wounded, but they had their ship back. And outside, racing through space at maximum speed, 13 human warships were coming, carrying admirals who had read 3 simple words: "Protocols are void." The fleet waiting near the Nightingale had no idea what was about to arrive. They were about to learn that attacking those who heal was the worst mistake they could make. Because humans who chose mercy were still humans, and humans from Earth never forgot how to be predators. The fleet floated in space around the Nightingale like scavengers around a kill. 7 warships, each one bristling with weapons. Inside them, pirates celebrated their victory. They had taken the famous human hospital ship, killed the soft who played at peace. Soon they would sell the medical supplies and ransom the survivors. Then their sensors detected the human fleet incoming. "War leader," a officer reported to the flagship. "Human vessels approaching, multiple signatures." The fleet commander, war leader, clicked his mandibles in amusement. He was brother and equally confident. "How many?" 13, war leader, including 2 large vessels. 13, laughed. "We have 7 warships and they send 13. They want their hospital ship back. We tell them the price. 10,000 medical units per survivor. They will pay." But did not understand humans. He did not know about the medical neutrality accord. He did not know what protocols are void meant. He was about to learn. Aboard the Admiral Jinwoo watched the fleet on his screens. His face showed no emotion. Behind him, his officers waited for orders. "Open a channel," Jinwoo said. "All frequencies. Make sure every ship in the sector can hear." "Channel open, sir." Jinwoo stood. When he spoke, his voice was calm, cold, the voice of a man who had made a decision and would not be moved. "This is Admiral Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Force to all vessels. By authority of the Medical Neutrality Accord, Section 9, Subsection 3, the attack on UHMS Nightingale is classified as a war crime against noncombatants. You have executed medical personnel. You have murdered patients in their care. All aggressor vessels and command structures will be subject to no mercy protocols." There was a pause, then's reply came full of arrogance. "Human Admiral, we have your ship, we have your people. You want them back, we discuss price." There is no price, Jinwoo said. There is no negotiation, there is no mercy. You attacked healers, you killed the defenseless, now you pay. You threaten us, we outnumber your warships, we have hostages. Jinwoo turned to his tactical officer. Are we in range? Yes, sir. Then show them what happens when humans stop being peaceful. The dreadnought Soul opened fire first, but not at the ships. The massive vessel fired its main cannons at a small outpost on a nearby asteroid. The outpost vaporized in seconds. That was a supply depot, Jinwoo broadcast. Unarmed, undefended, we just killed everyone inside. No warning, no mercy. This is what you brought upon yourselves when you attacked our hospital ship. The fleet suddenly realized this was not going to be a normal battle. Human ships fought by rules. They gave warnings. They accepted surrenders. This was different. You killed civilians, shouted. You killed doctors, Jinwoo replied. You murdered patients. You want rules. You should have thought of that before you attacked those who heal. All ships engage. No mercy protocols are in effect. The human fleet attacked. Galactic species fought wars carefully. They maintained proper engagement distances. They followed protocols about surrender and prisoner treatment. They fought like people who expected to negotiate peace afterwards. Humans, with no mercy protocols active, fought like predators with nothing to lose. The cruiser rammed a destroyer at full speed. Both ships were destroyed, but this crew had already evacuated in escape pods. They had not expected the tactic. The destroyer closed to point-blank range with a cruiser and fired everything. At that range, shields meant nothing. Armor meant nothing. Both ships were damaged, but the vessel split in half. They are insane, an officer screamed. They are destroying themselves to kill us. They do not care about dying, another replied. They only care about making us die. Watched his fleet being torn apart. The humans fought with a fury he had never seen. They did not try to disable ships. They did not target weapons. They aimed for crew sections, life support, any system that kept alive. War leader, we should surrender. They are not accepting surrenders, said quietly, finally understanding. This is not battle, this is execution. He was right. A frigate tried to signal surrender. The human destroyer did not slow down, did not stop firing. The ship was destroyed with all hands. You are monsters, broadcast, savages. Jinwoo's reply was ice cold. You executed doctors. You murdered patients in their beds. You taught us that mercy is weakness. We learned the lesson. Now we teach you what are like when they stop being merciful. On the Nightingale, the surviving medical staff heard the battle through the hull. They had retaken their ship, but they were badly hurt. Many were dying. Worked frantically to save them, but without full medical facilities, it was nearly hopeless. We need to let the fleet know we are alive, said. She was at the damaged communication console, trying to restore contact. Will they stop if they know? Asked. I do not know, but we have to try. Minyu stood guard at the bridge entrance, watching for any remaining boarders. His team was down to 8 people. They all looked dead on their feet, kept standing only by the combat drugs in their systems. Got something, shouted. Transmitting now, Nightingale to human fleet. We have retaken the ship, 22 survivors, requesting immediate medical evacuation. There was a long silence. Then Admiral Jinwoo's voice came through, and even over the damaged speaker, they could hear the relief in it. Nightingale, this is, hold position. We are clearing the fleet. Medical ships are standing by. Admiral said, we have casualties, critical, we need help now. Understood, Nightingale. We are moving as fast as we can. Through the damaged hull, they felt more explosions. The battle was getting closer. The human fleet was winning, but they were not going quietly. Made a decision. If he was going to die, he would take the humans with him. He turned his flagship toward the Nightingale and pushed engines to maximum. All power to forward shields. We ram the hospital ship. His officers stared. "War leader, that is a hospital ship. There are survivors aboard." "They are," said. "They deserve no mercy. They showed us none." The flagship accelerated toward the Nightingale. On the human ship's bridge, alarms blared. "Incoming," Minu shouted. "Flagship on collision course." Looked at, they had survived the initial attack, survived the battle, taken back their ship, and now they were going to die anyway. "It has been an honor," said quietly. But then the destroyer Ulsan appeared between them and the flagship. The human ship was smaller, faster. It turned broadside to the incoming vessel. "Ulsan, what are you doing?" Jinwoo's voice came over all channels. "Saving the Nightingale, sir," the Ulsan's captain replied. "They saved thousands over the years. Time to return the favor." The destroyer fired every weapon at point-blank range into the flagship. The flagship fired back. Both ships became balls of fire. When the explosions cleared, only debris remained. The Ulsan's sacrifice destroyed the flagship, but the crew had evacuated first. Most made it to escape pods. They had traded their ship for the Nightingale's survival. On the Nightingale's bridge and stood in silence. Another sacrifice. More humans dead protecting others. The battle ended quickly after that. The remaining ships tried to flee. The human fleet hunted them down one by one. No mercy, no surrender. By the time the fighting stopped, the fleet was gone. All 7 warships destroyed. Thousands of dead. Admiral Jinwoo broadcast one final message. "Let this be known throughout the galaxy. Humanity chose peace. We chose healing. We built hospital ships and treated everyone equally. But mercy is not weakness. It is a choice. Attack those who heal and we it." He paused, looking at the debris field that had been 7 warships. The medical neutrality accord stands. Human hospital ships will continue their work, but they will no longer travel alone and defenseless, and anyone who attacks them will face not mercy, but the full fury of Earth. Medical ships from the human fleet docked with the Nightingale. Doctors and nurses poured aboard. They found 22 survivors, all badly wounded. They also found 83 bodies. Medical staff who had died protecting their patients. Patients who had died because they sought healing. As they carried to the medical ship, he saw the stars through a porthole. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was hearing what happened, learning that humans could be pushed too far. He hoped they learned the right lesson, not that humans were monsters, but that humans who chose mercy were still humans, still capable of terrible things when their mercy was answered with murder. The combat drugs were wearing off. Pain came flooding back, closed his eyes and let the darkness take him. He had done what he could, saved who he could save. The rest was up to the galaxy to decide. 3 days later, the damaged Nightingale limped into Earth orbit, surrounded by 4 destroyers. The great hospital ship that had left 3 years ago as a symbol of human mercy returned as something else, a symbol of what happened when that mercy was betrayed. Doctor woke in a hospital bed on Earth. His first thought was surprise that he was alive. His second was pain. Every part of him hurt. The combat drugs had worn off and his broken arm was in a proper cast now. His ribs were wrapped. Cuts and burns covered his skin. But he was alive. "Doctor," a voice beside him. Nurse sat in a chair, also bandaged, also alive. "Welcome back." The others. 22 survivors out of 200 crew, 83 dead. Captain Sung-ho died during evacuation. So did nurse and doctor. Minyu survived somehow. Closed his eyes. 17 out of every 20 people dead. Young Dr. Jinnah, who had loved helping children. Captain Sung-ho, who believed mercy was their shield. So many others. Their entire raiding fleet destroyed. Admiral Jinwoo's forces are hunting down their bases in 3 sectors. No mercy protocols still in effect. Paused. The galaxy is talking. About what? About what we did, what they did, what it means. A doctor came in, checked vitals, adjusted his medications. "You are healing well," she said. "For someone who took enough combat stimulants to kill a horse, what were you thinking?" "I was thinking about saving my patients," replied. "You are lucky to be alive. Those drugs, the injuries, the stress, your body should have failed." "I am from Earth," said quietly. "We do not fail easily." The doctor left, helped sit up. Outside the window he could see Earth below, blue and green and beautiful, the terrible that created humans, the planet that taught them to survive anything. "There is a meeting," said. "The Galactic Council, they want to discuss what happened. They are calling it an atrocity." "Which part?" asked bitterly. "When they murdered our people, or when we killed them back?" "Both, I think. Some species are horrified by the actions. Others are horrified by our response. They say we went too far." "We went exactly as far as we needed to." Lieutenant Minu entered the room, walking with a cane. He had burns across half his body and was missing 2 fingers, but he smiled when he saw them. "The heroes awake," he said. "They are giving us medals, all of us, commendations for bravery." "I do not want a medal, Sid. I want my crew back." "I know, me too." Minu sat down heavily. "But the medals matter, not for us, for what they represent. Humanity standing behind what we did, saying we were right to fight back." A week later was well enough to travel. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session on the neutral station Harmony Point. Human representatives were going, and they wanted survivors of the Nightingale to testify. And Minu traveled with the human delegation. Admiral Jinwoo was there too, his uniform perfect, his face showing no emotion. The council chamber was huge, with representatives from 40 species. The room fell silent when the humans entered. Everyone had seen the news, seen the footage of the destroyed fleet, heard the broadcasts of Admiral Jinwoo refusing surrender. The ambassador stood first. His species were the ones the Nightingale had been trying to save when they attacked. "I wish to show the council something," he said. He projected holographic images in the center of the room, images from the Nightingale, bodies of medical staff, patients executed in their beds. Young Dr. Jinnah's body sprawled across a child she had died protecting. The council chamber was silent. Some representatives looked away, others stared in horror. "This is what they did," the ambassador said. "The humans ran a hospital ship for 3 years. They treated everyone, asked for nothing, saved thousands of lives, including many of my people. They answered mercy with murder. They killed healers. They executed patients." A representative stood. Her species were known for their pacifism. But the human response was excessive. They destroyed an entire fleet, killed thousands, refused surrender. Admiral Jinwoo stood. "Yes," he said simply, "we did." "That is a war crime." "No," Jinwoo's voice was calm but hard. "The medical neutrality accord is clear. Attack a hospital ship and no mercy protocols apply to the response. We followed the law exactly." "Laws can be immoral." "Then you should not have signed them," Jinwoo replied. "The accord exists because everyone agreed that hospital ships must be protected, that medical personnel must be safe. They broke that agreement. We enforced it. If you have a problem with our response, blame yourselves for writing the law." Another representative stood. "But you killed thousands, over 83 deaths." It was who answered. She stood slowly, using a cane. "Every species in this room has hospital ships, medical vessels, ambulances, trauma centers. You have them because you know that healers must be protected, that the sick and wounded must be safe." She looked around the room. "We showed you for 3 years that humans could be trusted to uphold that principle. We healed your wounded, saved your children, asked for nothing. And when they attacked us, you know what we did first. We kept treating patients. Even while being killed, we tried to save lives." Her voice grew harder. 83 humans died on the Nightingale, but we do not just mourn our dead. We mourn what their deaths represent: the death of trust, the death of the idea that mercy is respected, that taught us that in this galaxy, choosing to heal makes you a target. So you chose revenge, the said. No, replied. We chose survival, and we chose to ensure no one else would make the same mistake. Every species in this galaxy now knows exactly what happens when you attack human medical personnel. You die, your fleet dies, your bases burn. There is no negotiation, no mercy, just consequences. Stood next, his arm was still in a cast, his face still showed bruises. I am a doctor, he said. I took an oath to heal, to do no harm. I have spent my entire adult life saving people. Any people, every people. He paused, looking at each council member. But I also helped kill on the Nightingale. I armed myself. I fought. I used my medical knowledge to make my body into a weapon, and I would do it again. Why, someone asked. Because I am also human from Earth. And humans have another principle besides healing. We protect our own. When something threatens those under our care, we stop it. Permanently. The representative shook her head. This is why are dangerous. You cannot let go of your violent nature. Admiral Jinwoo stood again. You are right. We are dangerous. Every human carries the potential for violence. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We evolved to fight, to survive, to win at any cost. He let that sink in. But we chose to use that strength differently. We built hospital ships. We created the Medical Neutrality Accord. We showed the galaxy that being strong does not mean being cruel. That coming from a does not make you a monster. And then we were punished for it, Minyu said, standing. They saw our mercy as weakness. They thought healers would not fight back. They were wrong. The council debated for hours. Some wanted sanctions against humanity. Others wanted the hunted to extinction. Finally, they reached a decision. The Medical Neutrality Accord would be rewritten. Stronger protections for hospital ships, harsher penalties for violations, and a new provision: hospital ships could travel with military escorts without losing their protected status. Humanity has shown us that mercy requires strength to survive, the council leader announced. We failed to protect those who heal. That failure cost 83 human lives. It will not happen again. 6 months later, the new Nightingale launched from Earth orbit, bigger than before, better equipped, and flanked by 4 destroyers that would never leave its side. Stood on the bridge as the new captain, had accepted the position of Chief Medical Officer again. Minyu commanded an expanded security force of 100 guards. Ready to depart, Captain, the helmsman said. Looked at the memorial wall they had installed. 83 names, 83 people who had died because they chose to heal. Set course for the outer reach, she ordered. There are people who need medical help. Captain, a young ensign asked, what if we are attacked again? Smiled, it was not a kind smile. Then they learn what 83 martyrs taught the galaxy, that human healers are still humans, still willing to die protecting those who cannot protect themselves. And willing to kill, the ensign asked quietly. Willing to do whatever is necessary, replied. That is what it means to be human. We choose mercy, we choose healing, but we never forget how to do the other thing. We never forget that we are from Earth. The Nightingale moved out into space, white and green and pure, surrounded by gray warships like wolves protecting a shepherd. In the years that followed, the new Nightingale treated tens of thousands of patients, saved countless lives, operated in the most dangerous regions of space. And it was never attacked again. The galaxy had learned. Some lessons are written in treaties, some in laws, but the most important lessons are written in blood and fire and the destruction of those who forget that mercy is a choice, not a weakness. Humanity chose mercy, but they made sure everyone knew the cost of taking that mercy for granted. Stood in the medical bay of the new ship, treating a young child with a broken arm. The child was scared, crying. worked gently, carefully, speaking soft words of comfort. This was who humans chose to be: healers, protectors, helpers. But on his hip, under his medical coat, carried a weapon, and in a locked cabinet nearby, combat stimulants waited, just in case. Because humans were from Earth, and Earth taught its children to hope for peace but prepare for war, to offer mercy but remember how to fight, to be healers who never forgot they were also predators. The nightingale flew on through the stars, carrying its message to the galaxy: attack those who heal and face the full fury of humanity. But come in peace, seeking help and find mercy without end. The choice was yours. The consequences were absolute: